Okay, I'm Richard Epperly, and I've ran a construction business for about 26 years, and I constantly have people asking me, how can we do this ourselves? And a lot of people like to save money as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put together some tutorial videos of easy to do projects that you can do yourself. So I've put together some tools and things here that you would need to do basic texture. That wall or room you've always wanted to texture, you just didn't know how to quite get started. Well, hopefully today I'm going to show you everything it takes to get started. So let's see if we can put some mud on the wall. Okay, now I'd like to show you just some basic tools that you will need to do texture. And of course you can find these at your local hardware store. Pretty simple tools. I would say probably the first thing is try to find a tub, or if you have a plastic container around the house, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Just anything that you can put mud in that's probably 12, 14 inches in diameter or across. Or even a 5-gallon bucket works really well, and of course I'll show you why here in a minute. Some type of container that you can put your waste mud in, because at a certain point you kind of have to clean your knives off. So as you go along, the mud tends to want to harden. So if you don't get the trash out of your mud, it kind of leaves a bad effect on the texture. There's two methods to mixing your mud. You can use basically a long-handled potato masher. That's what I use most of the time, unless it's a big job. Then I have a 1/2-inch drill with a paddle mixer. So there again, cheaper method. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I have two different sizes of taping knives. I have a small one for tight places. I have a wider one for the big areas. I have a small putty knife, and that is of course to clean the old mud off my knives after each knockdown. There's two different methods you can use on actually daubing the texture on the wall, and one is a mud hawk, which a mud hawk will cost you a little bit more, which I don't use a mud hawk a whole lot. Actually, I use a homemade dauber. It's basically made out of a piece of 1:12 cut into a circle that will actually fit into a 5-gallon bucket, which is a lot easier, a lot cleaner methods. There's two ways you can set your dauber up. You can pad it, which gives it just a little different effect on the wall, not a whole lot, but it just makes it a little easier to daub. Always have something. This is kind of homemade. You can use a block of wood, a little cardboard box, anything to get in smaller, tighter places. So this is basically what you need. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. It's basically a simple setup. Okay, and another thing you will need, which I already have in the bucket, is basically drywall mud, which also can be purchased at your local hardware store. So the next step is basically mixing a little bit of water with your mud, and we'll get started. Okay, first thing you want to do, of course, like I say, you can get your joint compound or drywall mud at your local hardware store, lumber yard, which you need to get pre-mixed joint compound. And what you do is you put it in your 5-gallon bucket, and you need to add maybe a little water if you want your texture thicker and coarser. Sometimes you don't have to add any water at all, but usually I'll add just a little water, so it's not so thick on the wall. Like I say, it depends on how coarse or fine you want your texture. The wetter you get it, the thinner the texture will be. So I'm going to add just a little bit of water. Like I say, just, not a whole lot. And you take your mixer or your potato masher, I call it, and you just work the mud until the water's worked in real well. You tilt it. Okay. And one thing you need to do is you need to plan a dinner and invite all your in-laws over. That way you got plenty of help, and just don't tell them what you're going to do. Have all this stuff set up and say, okay, was that a good dinner? And then there you go. It's always good to have help. Okay.